Hello, my grots and gits. Welcome back to another episode of Happy Crumpin' Wargaming. On this channel, we're going to teach you all the tactics and strategies to make do with whatever the heck you are playing in Warhammer 40,000. I love Warhammer 40,000, guys, and at the release of 10th edition, there are some balance issues. I don't think anyone will ever dispute that. But a lot of these balance issues are not nearly as bad as you think. And one of the really cool things that we get to do on this channel is teach you how to react competitively to some of the top meta picks. So right now, everyone's afraid of the boogeyman GSC, and with good reason, because GSC is kind of a jerk. It's actually very powerful, but we can counter it. And today, we're going to learn how the heck are we going to do it, kind of regardless of which army you're running. There are some general fast and hard rules of how you're going to do it. So, if you like that stuff, make sure you share this video with your friends who are complaining about GSC, because no one likes a complainer. We need to just fix the problem. Let's not complain, and let us outplay our opponents. Cool. So what is the actual problem that we're trying to solve with GSC? Whenever you run into like a new meta pick or a new meta list, you have to figure out what the actual problem is. Well, so here's the deal. They have 1 to 2 turns of crazy damage. These are their drop turns. The reason for this is that when GSC comes out of their ambush, they will essentially do their deep strikes, and everything that does this will get exploding 6s or sustained hits 1, and they're also going to ignore cover, and that is a very, very significant boost to their damage. They also have some very good stratagem combinations, which will allow them to get +1 to wound and +1 AP on their weapons. So suddenly you have an additional blip of AP, you got +1 to wound, and you're ignoring cover, and you're exploding. It just stacks so much. So on their drop turns, which are always going to be turns 2 and 3, they will have mad damage output. So you already have an advantage, because you know that their game is turns 2 and 3. That is their game. Unfortunately, they have another really powerful ability, which is they have extreme late game dominance, because their army will basically still be fresh in the late game, while your army will be very depleted. Even though they're going to lose all of their crazy damage output, they're still going to have good damage output, and their army is going to be fresh. The reason for this is because of the Cult Ambush special rule. So when you kill a Genestealer Cults unit with their special keyword, what's going to happen is the enemy, or the GSC player, will roll a dice, and on a 4 up, they get to take that unit and put it back into deep strike, essentially. All right, and then in your next, at the end of your player next movement phase, not the GSC's player, the opponent's player, your player, you being the opponent, they will get to place that unit on any of the blips that they put on the battlefield. So the unit dies, they roll a dice, on a 4 up, they get to put a blip anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from your units, and then at the end of your next movement phase, the GSC unit will get to appear. Now, they get to add 3 to the dice roll if it's a battle line unit, which would be neophyte hybrids and acolytes. So basically, it's guaranteed that they'll always fully replace their neophytes and their acolytes. They don't get to replace their characters, which is a godsend. Thank goodness, right? Okay, so let's talk about the next start. One of the things that people tried initially, or I tried initially when GSC was coming in, is that they were going to drop down, and I would just try to like half kill their unit, because I don't really want to let them regenerate and just basically redeploy across the battlefield. That's a really bad idea, because Genestealer Cults units get to regenerate even if they're alive. So they're going to regenerate D3 models at the end of the movement phase, or flat 3 if they're on the objective, or I think it's D6 if it's neophytes, and maybe flat 6. I could be a little bit off on the numbers on that, but regardless, it's enough so that they're going to get all their heavy weapons back, and they're going to get to start blasting. So that's not the really great thing about them. Anyway, they have approximately 0 first turn play, and that's simply because half their army is going to be a deep strike, and they get such a damage boost from the drop. So we're not really concerned about going second against them. As a matter of fact, I think, typically speaking, you're probably going to want to go second against GSC. All right, then we have fantastic movement phase shenanigans that they have. They've got a unit of Jackals, and this is not going to be a comprehensive list of every single GSC unit. This is actually going to be more of a TTS tutorial on how to actually place your models so that you kill them. But I just think I need to mention this. Bikes have this ability that if they move within 6 inches of you, for every model in the unit, including leader units, they'll roll a d6, and on a 4 they'll cause mortal wounds. So they actually have a lot of mortal wound movement phase shenanigans, which is pretty darn annoying. They even have a enhancement that'll allow them to move if you move within 9 inches of them. So they could move, cause mortal wounds, and then when you move, they will cause mortal wounds. It can be very, very frustrating. All right, so before we get to the TTS, or the Tabletop Simulator view, and we actually start talking about how to place our models and everything to actually counter these, let's talk about how not to beat them. All right, first off, do not think you can take their drop turn. You can't. They deal crazy damage, and I'll actually demonstrate exactly how much damage they actually deal. You can't tank it. Doesn't happen. Maybe a fully buffed unit of Lich Guard could tank 2 to 3 units on the drop turn. Maybe it's possible that if you have a 6-man unit of Custodian Wardens with a character with -1 damage and your 4-up Feel No Pain for that turn, maybe that could tank it. But I think that's probably about the only thing in the game that has a prayer, because you're not tanking this. Don't plan on, like I said earlier, don't plan on killing half the units or reducing the squad size to like a very small amount. Because one of the things that Genestealer Cults will always do, let's say you're an orc player and you run in all your beast nagas and you start slaughtering, and you're like blah blah, and your choppers are going everywhere and you kill everything. Well, what's going to happen is they're actually going to strategically kill their models to pull them out of coherency. So that even though you're engaged at the end of the turn, they're going to have to kill some models to restore coherency. Now they're going to be no longer engaged, and at the end of their movement phase, they're just going to regenerate all the heavy weapons and blast you to death anyway. It's a really good strategy that GSC can do, and they should do. We actually did it a little bit in 9th edition, because I was a GSC player for a bit in 9th edition as well. But it still works super, super well in 10th edition. So, yeah, just be aware of that. Half killing units isn't really a great idea, even though initially, to me, it sounded like a good idea. And then tagging in melee. And I just basically explained the tagging melee thing, because they're going to pull themselves out of coherency. So essentially what you want to do is you're going to want to wipe them. All right, what's my next slide here? All right, yeah, before I go to the CTS view, let me just kind of give you the overview of what the damage these units actually do is, so you just trust me, and you don't really need to test it out for yourself. All right, so this is the Acolyte's bomb. I did an entire video on the Acolyte. If you want more of a detailed breakdown of this, which I highly recommend you watch, I'm going to put it like a little card or something here, and I'll definitely put a link in the description so that you can go observe that. But essentially, they do unbelievable damage. They have a 3-inch deep strike with a 1 CP stratagem, and there's a little bit of a combination to actually build this, but it's not hard for them to do. So essentially, yeah, 36 damage into Termagants, 41 into Marines, 22 damage, casual 22 damage into a Custodian Guard a squad, 37 damage into a Rhino. It's ludicrous. Basically what's going to happen is this unit will deep strike 3 inches away from something you don't want it to, and it will delete that unit. When I was doing the math, I think it was the Transcendent Satan might survive. Wardens can survive if they have their 4 Feel No Pain and the -1 damage, like I said earlier, and it's possibly Lich Guard make it. But I think there's like a 50% chance that they do kill the Lich Guard, so they can kill Lich Guards. Yeah, so that's essentially it. And then I think I got one more damage profile I want to talk about before we run into the tabletop view. Let's talk about the Neophyte Blob's damage. Remember, guys, this is a blob that's going to cost them 150, maybe 160 points. They're going to have 4 of these, and these regenerate. So each squad is going to have 4 seismics, which is essentially going to be 24 shots. They're hitting on 5s, but they're also heavy, so if they happen to have not moved that turn, they'll be a +1. Of course, I mean, they're going to have moved. Or they're going to be a +1 to hit, but they will have moved. So typically speaking, they're going to be hitting on 5s, exploding on 6s, +1 to wound with a +1 AP. And remember, they're ignoring that cover. That is a lot of damage. Then they're also going to have another 46 flamer shots, which are also going to be at +1 to wound and +1 AP. And then their 12 auto gun equivalents, exploding on 6s, +1 to wound, +1 AP, which will still ignore cover on the drop turn. On average, it's going to kill 4 Custodian Guard. That's 180 points that 160 point unit will delete. It's going to kill 5 to 6 Terminators, just because there's a little bit of a toughness difference. And there's ways that you can mitigate this damage. Obviously, you can use your -1 damage strats, your Armor of Contempt strats, but it's a lot of damage from one unit, and they're going to have 4 of them. So just be, or maybe 3, but it's a ton. So you're not going to take that. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to switch over to the TTS view, and I'm going to kind of show you a army setup that I have, and I'm going to talk through the game plan just a little bit, okay? Just so I can kind of show you exactly what these GSC cats can do. All right, so if you look at this map right here, this This is the normal like terrain that we're gonna see with I think this is WTC terrain here, but it's pretty close to like a lot of the GW terrains as well. So let me just move some things around here. Yeah, we'll put them here. So over here you can see that I've got a unit of Terminators and they're holding this objective. Well, no more, because the Genestealer Cults unit is just going to deep strike 3 inches away and they're going to delete it. It doesn't matter if you overwatch, because when you overwatch at the end of their movement, or in the reserve step, I think you overwatch and you kill a bunch of them, and then they regenerate at the end of the movement phase. So they're just going to regenerate their squad's members, and they're just going to blast you. So the only way that you want to overwatch is if you can actually wipe the squad. But with like your Terminators, you're not going to wipe them in an overwatch. So you're not going to really mitigate this, because only 4 of them have the demo charge. Remember, please go back, watch that video so you can actually understand how this works, because you have to. So this unit's going to die. They could also very easily do the exact same thing right here. They might not completely obliterate the whole 4-man, but when you put them there and then you also put a neophyte blob right here, then they definitely completely obliterate that 6-man squad of Terminators. So that's the thing, like, even if this one huge Acolyte bomb doesn't completely obliterate, they're still going to have a 9-inch deep strike over here and just blast with this squad and finish up any of the stragglers that did manage to survive. So, yeah, you cannot survive. This is a 6-man unit of Terminators at 4 wounds, toughness 7. They're going to have 2-up armor. They're going to have a 4-up invuln. I'm going to make them -1. They're going to be obliterated for sure. So don't think that you can tank this army. You can't do it. Now, let me show you basically what happens here, all right? So let's say it's my turn, and I charge my Terminators in, and they slaughter the crap out of this Neophyte squad. So I got that little line there. And this Neophyte squad just dies, which they absolutely would kill the squad. Well, my opponent then is just going to grab himself a little objective marker, and he's going to say, boom, right here, I'm going to make my squad appear here at the end of your next movement phase. That's going to be very, very frustrating for you, because at the end of your next movement phase, what they're going to do is they can actually place the squad right here. And it's really kind of silly how they get to place. Only one has to be on the objective marker, and everyone else just has to follow the normal rules of deep strike. So they could do it like this. Just make sure it's like 9 inches away. Cool. And they can basically place them however they want. So they can get tons of free movement off of this. As a matter of fact, let's pretend that I don't have this squad here. I'm just going to pick them up for a moment. Boom. And let's say that these guys are like over here or something. As a matter of fact, when these guys do come back to life, they could do this. As long as one is on the objective, they could do this, which is absolutely silly. But it's just the way the game works. They do have to still follow the normal rule of being like outside of 9 inches of your squad. But who cares? That's how they come back onto the battlefield. It's stupid. They can cover so much range. So we have to figure out how the heck we're going to counter that. So just wanted to show you guys exactly what I mean by a 3-inch death squad. They can drop here. They can drop here. Then when they come back to life, they can do this. Now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and start talking a little bit more. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to place our models and what we're going to do to actually counter this unbelievable amount of power. Let me just click back. Nice. And we are back to the PowerPoint. Perfect. All right, so that's the Neophyte Blob Squad. That's like what they can do on the tabletop. All right. Now, let's figure out what armies actually do have good play in GSC. And this is real. Not every army has good play into GSC, but probably more than you might think. First of all, Deathwatch. Deathwatch actually, I think, just straight up beats GSC. Deathwatch does a great play into GSC. Grey Knights, even though they're in a pretty bad place in the meta, they are actually quite good into GSC. I'm pretty sure they just kind of beat GSC. Orcs, actually. And I think Orcs are in a fine place in the meta. The only problem with Orcs currently right now is that they can't beat Necrons. So once the funky reanimation protocols get a little bit of address, which I don't think they need to be nerfed crazy hard, but the Crypto Thralls need to be dealt with. I think Orcs are going to be in a great place. But yeah, Orcs actually probably have quite a decent game into the GSC. That doesn't mean they're going to always beat GSC. I think it's still a hard match, but it's a very possible match. And then also, maybe even your Chaos Knights do quite well into the GSC. Because I know the Night Tyrant has their 12-inch Deep Strike Denial Bubble, so you're not going to be able to drop the Acolyte Bombs. So they actually might have some pretty good play into the GSC as well. That being said, Chaos Knights aren't in the best place, but I digress. And then I'm going to add in one more thing here, which I probably should have just typed up earlier. But Imperial Agents are very useful against GSC. Why? So what do these different types of armies really have in common? Well, one, they have redeploys, and redeploys are so powerful. And others. Yeah, redeploys are incredibly powerful against GSC. The reason why redeploys are incredibly powerful against GSC is that when they place that blip, if you move within 9 inches of the blip, it disappears, and they can't put the unit down. That is very strong. That doesn't mean the unit is never going to be allowed to be placed down, because they can place that down in another blip that they place later when you kill a unit. That was a mouthful. But it can't come out of that blip that turn. And that is exceptionally good. So Grey Knights just smash that. Death Watch with their teleporting shenanigans, they can smash that. Orcs, we've got pretty cheap Storm Boys that can drop down in Deep Strike and just absolutely annihilate their ability to do that. We've got the Weird Boy, which can teleport around and do it. Which, by the way, guys, if you're not taking a solo Weird Boy as Orcs, I think you need to take a solo Weird Boy as Orcs. It sounds a little bit strange, but that dude can sit inside a truck all game long, and then he could just jump out and teleport and capture enemy outposts at the end of the game. So he's very, very valuable. And he's also valuable into the GSC matchup because he just eliminates a blip. All right, cool. Then we have that Deep Strike Denial bubble. The Deep Strike Denial is so unbelievably important against your GSC. One of the things that you want to make sure you're focusing on Deep Strike Denials is going to be things like your Infiltrators, obviously. And the reason why I put Imperial Agents, wow, I need to finish typing that out, sorry, is that they can bring a Inquisitorial Henchman squad. And inside of an Inquisitorial Henchman squad, you have a Mystic. And a Mystic provides you a 12-inch bubble of you cannot Deep Strike. That is awesome. No reserves, no deep strikes, no nothing. It denies all that movement, and it's pretty freaking great. You can have a 10-man squad that's going to have 2 of these Mystics. So basically that one 10-man squad can screen out like, ooh, hot dog. I think it's like almost, geez, if you stretch the squad out, I think you can get almost 12-inch bubble, like over 36 inches of coverage of you shall not pass. And that is very, very important. Death Watch are going to be having your Infiltrators, and your Infiltrators are going to be having basically the entire board. I'm going to show you in a moment on TTS just how much of the board you can cover with 2 squads of Infiltrators to deny deep strikes. And then actually GSC is also very good into GSC, which is super, super annoying because they've got the Clamavis, which can also, give that 12-inch deep strike denial. So there are ways to beat the GSC. Okay, so here we go. Methods of dealing with the GSC problem. Well, one thing that you want to do is you want to wipe the squad. Don't have to kill the squad. I think I've said it 3 times this video. You need to wipe that squad. Kill them. Make them not available for your opponent's turn. Crap, I'm going to have to bring them in at the end of your next turn. And that is just something that you're going to have to accept. You're going to have to kill them. They will be coming back. It's an annoying thing. It's actually quite a really cool concept because it really makes you feel like, oh, hey, I'm fighting an endless wave of cultists that are coming out of the ditches and the gutters and all that. I actually think it's a cool mechanism. It needs some tweaking, but it's a pretty good mechanism and a cool mechanism overall. But you want to wipe these freaking squads. Make them a problem for later. Then you need deep strike denials. So if you have access to Infiltrators, you need them. I know in my Custodes army now, I am taking a Kyria Draxus with the squad of Inquisitorial Henchmen because I need the deep strike denial. Even though I might not be able to cover the entire battlefield with it, like I can with Infiltrators, it lets me still deny a very critical location to the GSC, and that's super darn important. Then the next way that we're going to deal with GSC is with powerful Overwatch. And this is actually really good news to some other armies, right? So powerful Overwatch is going to be we're talking like Serious Flamers. So Grey Knights have great Overwatch potential. What's the new heavy Flamer squad for Space Marines called? I forgot what it's called. But those things are Incinerator squads maybe. Those things are amazing for dealing with GSC because that Acolyte squad drops. Boom, you burn them to death. Burnaboys, I don't really think are that good for at this for Orcs, because you really don't want to take them. They're a little pricey for a little crappy damage, and you really need to, and you're only strength 4, and you really need to make sure that you wipe the Acolyte squad when they drop down, because if you're not able to actually wipe that squad, your Overwatch was useless, because remember, they're going to regenerate at the end of the movement step. So if 10 drop down and you casually kill 6 in an Overwatch, well, one you didn't do anything, because they just kill the 6 useless guys, and they still have the demo charges on the 4 that are left. But let's say you kill 9 of them. There's 1 left. Well, then they roll a d3, and they get 2 back, or 3 back, and they're basically at full firepower. So you need a good Overwatch to actually counter this. Incorn has a reasonable one. Warp Spiders have a great one. Tyranids actually have some pretty good options here. I actually should have put Tyranids down on the list of armies that are really good at handling GSC as well, because they have the Spore Mines that they can just drop to get rid of these ambush tokens all the time. So yeah, your GSC or your Tyranids are actually quite good at this. And then the last thing that we really desperately need to be handling GSC is our rapid redeploys, so that we can shut down their blips. These are going to be fast units or teleporting units, all of our deep strikes. Your Alaris Terminators if you're Custodes. It's going to be your Weird Boy if you're Orcs, or your Storm Boys. It's going to be anything in the Grey Knights army. It's going to be your Spore Mines for Tyranids. There are plenty of options for this in the game. I know Eldar, they've got 24-inch movement Warp Spiders, which is so broken, but they're going to love it against the GSC, even though they just love it in general. Okay, cool. So then, before I go back to the TTS, and I'll finish on the TTS screen, let's just do this. What is the damage profile that you actually need to wipe a squad? Not much, man. You need to be able to wipe 20 T3 5-up armor save bodies in cover. I assume half of them will be in cover. If you're a blast unit, you're easily going to do this. If you have Alaris Terminators for Custodes, you're going to wipe that squad, no problem. If you are basically anything in Space Marines, you're going to wipe that squad, no problem. If you have a unit of 10 Beast Snagga Boys and Orcs, you're going to wipe that squad, no problem. It's not hard to do. The question is, can you do it multiple times per turn? Because they've got 4 of these units, and that's going to be actually challenging to do. Most armies don't have the ability to wipe 4 20-man squads in a turn. The GSC player is they have an advantage, and it's a strong army. It is what it is. And remember, you don't want to leave 3 alive, because they're going to regenerate, and then they're going to blast you anyway, and it's going to be a massive problem. They're going to regenerate. They're going to steal objectives. We really hate it. We just want to kill them. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go back to TTS now, and I want to show you exactly how far you can screen using these infiltrator units, so that you can visually see it, and then you can learn how to actually place it on your battlefield as well. So let's do that now. Magic of the internet. Hello! We did it. That was actually very cool. That worked quite well. All right, so I'm just going to get a bunch of these squads off the table here, just so I can kind of demonstrate what can 2 infiltrator squads do. I do actually think if you're playing Death Watch or something like that, basically your army should start with 2 infiltrator squads right now, because it's so freaking good. Neophytes, come over here. All right. So let's do this. Yeah, I want to move these guys off as well. So one of the cool things about TTS is oh crap, I don't have these scribed. Here. All right, guys, you're gonna have to forgive me. I did not scribe my models, so I can't get TTS to react the way I wanted it to. Pretend these are infiltrators and they are not actually GSC. All right, so we have 12. See this aura? This is actually one of the reasons why I think everyone should be on TTS, so that you can learn how to exactly what you're doing with your models. So you can drop one right there, and then we just drop another right here, within 2 inches of him. And then this one can come right here within 2 inches of him. And then this one can come right here within 2 inches of him. And then this one can come right here within 2 inches of him. And then you can have a second squad of 5. And you just place them like this. This is actually pretty freaking amazing. So let's say I want this guy to be, say, here. Let's start, because I want to make sure all this is screened. And then this guy is going to be here. And then this guy can be right here. I think I have, that's 1, 2, 3. I need to move him a little bit closer just to make sure they're in coherency. And this guy is going to end up here. And then we'll just do a copy and paste for our 5th member. So look at that. Isn't that a thing of beauty? let's put you here just so I have complete overlapping fields. So at this point in time, what we have essentially done is we have said, no, Genestealer Cults, you will not play your game today because we don't like you. You are jerks. So what happens here is, I do actually really want to cover over that corner. There we go. There we go. So all of this is now completely denied with 2 squads. Well over half the battlefield. You're going to have a tank or something right here that can deny all this area while they're just blasting. Or maybe just drop your Desolator squad right here, and they're going to kill the entire GSC army while they're just sitting here perfectly safe. Then you're going to be moving forward with your other units. You have more than 2 units, but with just 2 units, you have denied GSC the entire freaking board. You move a unit up here. You move a unit up here. Suddenly, GSC can only deep strike in their own deployment zone. You actually can handle them very, very well. It's pretty amazing how much you can screen. Look at all that. Those purple bubbles is where you cannot land. And they cross the entire map, right? So this is what you do. You put these guys down, and GSC is not a problem. Then what you do is you just have like a unit that can teleport. So then you just pick up your teleporting squad, and you drop them down wherever the blip is. Where did I have that blip? Say they had a blip here to resurrect a squad. Boom. You just teleport within 9 inches of it. You don't even have to be on it. You just have to be within 9 inches, and it's gone. And they never get that squad back. It's so darn powerful. This is how you play GSC. You need to make sure that you screen your field effectively. I hope this was extremely valuable for you. I know it was extremely valuable for me. If you're playing Custodes and you're really struggling, guys, the Imperial henchmen, the Inquisitorial henchman squad is amazing. If you're playing with orcs and you're struggling, get that weird boy, get those storm boys out there. Make sure you might not have the deep strike denial tools, but you do have the ability to get to the blips and actually kill them very easily because you're very, very fast. You're very, very hard hitting. You can put yourself in tanks to protect yourself from the drop, or trucks to protect yourself from the drop. If you're playing Eldari, I have no mercy for you because you know what, you're playing a broken army anyway. But yeah, so guys, there are ways to deal with this. It's not as crippling as you might think. It is very crippling if you're not prepared to fight it. But that is why on Happy Crumpin' Wargaming we get you prepared to play against absolutely everything. And I truly, truly hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe. Please share with your friends because people need to stop dooming and they just need to learn how to deal with the problem. And there are ways to deal with the problem. That being said, Games Workshop is on top of it. They are going to be continuing to improve the balance. They proved throughout 9th that they're pretty good at it. Yes, they have little missteps here and there, but they are dedicated to making a fairer and more balanced game, which I greatly appreciate them for. So don't doom. Just learn how to freaking deal with the problem. We don't complain. We deal. And now we have the tools to do that. Thank you, everybody. Y'all are amazing. And until next time, I will see you later. Happy Crumpin', my lovely wargamers.